The Declaration of the Rights of the Peoples of Russia was a document promulgated by the Bolshevik government of Russia on November 15, 1917. The document proclaimed equality and sovereignty of peoples of Russia, right of peoples of Russia of a free self-determination, including secession and formation of a separate state, abolition of all national and religious privileges and restrictions, free development of national minorities and ethnographical groups populating the territory of Russia. The meaning of the declaration is still disputed in Russian historiography. In 1917, the Bolshevist thinking was still largely idealistic, dominated by vague ideas of universal happiness. Also, at that moment, Bolsheviks believed that the world revolution was imminent, so they did not care much about loss of territories. However, it is often argued that in fact Lenin and Stalin agreed to liberate mostly the territories they had no sovereignty upon, since Russia had lost them to Central Powers in 1915 and 1916. Many historians suggest that the purpose of the document was to limit the public dissent after Russia lost most of its western areas and tried to complicate the matters behind the front lines. The declaration had the effect of rallying some of ethnic non-Russians behind Bolsheviks. Latvian riflemen were important supporters of Bolsheviks in the early days of Russian Civil War, and Latvian historians recognized the promise of sovereignty as an important reason for that. White Russians did not support self-determination, and, as a result, few Latvians fought on the white side. The right of secession was soon exercised by many nations that earlier had been incorporated into Imperial Russia. Many areas in Russia itself were also declared independent republics. Bolshevist Russia would, however, attempt to establish Soviet power in as many of those as possible. All three Baltic states experienced wars between Soviet governments aiming to establish a communist state allied with Bolshevist Russia, and non-communist governments aiming for an independent state. The Soviet governments would receive a direct military support from Russia. After the non-communist side winning, Russia recognized them as the legitimate governments of Baltic states in 1920. Russian historiography often cited the document as one of the main bases for the liberation of Central European states. However, it is to be noted that Poland, Ukraine, Lithuania, Latvia, Belarus and Estonia were either created as puppet states by the Central Powers or liberated by the nations of the above-mentioned countries themselves after the collapse of Germany and Austria-Hungary. List of seceded lands. The following countries declared their independence soon after the Bolsheviks' declaration, establishing themselves as non-communist states. Although the role this declaration played for the declared independence is doubtful, it is Bolshevist Russia's recognition of their independence. Note that except for Finland, all of these areas were outside of Russian sovereignty following the Austro-German successes in the Great War, and were officially ceded in the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. Ukrainian People's Republic, Moldova, Finland, Lithuania, Estonia, Transcaucasia, Belarus, Poland, Latvia. These countries declared their independence as communist states soon after the declaration. Tuva. Several other independent republics have been proclaimed but happen to be short-lived. Kazan, Kaluga, Ryazan, Ufa, Bashkortostan, Orenburg, North Ingria. Later developments. Bolsheviks have never rejected the idea of self-determination. Still, the Soviet constitutions limited the right of secession to the constituent republics only. In 1990, Lithuania declared its independence again, citing the right to secession as written down in Soviet constitution.